Miami. Qué gusto estar con ustedes nuevamente. Está con nosotros Craig Studnicki y Daniel Castañeda. Ellos van a estar con nosotros a lo largo de esta entrevista para platicarnos qué es lo que está sucediendo en el mercado inmobiliario en Florida. Craig Studnicki es el CEO y cofundador de ISG Group y es líder en ventas con más de 500 agentes inmobiliarios a su cargo en Estados Unidos, Latinoamérica y Europa. Él se ha encargado de la venta de propiedades de lujo por más de 16 billones de dólares. Representa más de 125 desarrollos de lujo en los últimos 25 años. Es fundador del libro de estadísticas de Miami Report que hemos compartido con ustedes en algunas de nuestras transmisiones. Y bueno, hoy día está aquí Daniel Castañeda con nosotros, que es Sales Associate de Brickell City Center. Ellos dos nos van a dar las perspectivas inmobiliarias que tenemos antes y después del coronavirus. Thank you for being with us, Craig. As always, it's a pleasure talking with you. We miss you here in Mexico. We want to share Mexican market with this interview and with this couple of questions that we'd like to share with all of the Mexicans with the marketing trends in Miami.
Well, it's a pleasure, Pepe, and I miss Mexico too. Believe me, I can't wait to come back. But please, fire away. I'm happy to answer any questions I possibly can.
Please, can you tell us about your vision with the real estate in Miami before and after COVID-19? What is the perspective post 2012 and 20? Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hi, Pepe. How are you? And greetings from Miami, Florida.
Thank you so much, Craig.
It's ironic that we're all quarantined here in Miami because anybody who lives here will tell you that we are having some of the most beautiful weather that we've ever seen in the month of March and April. And they quarantined us, so we can't even go outside and enjoy it. It's driving us crazy. But that's Miami. It's the beautiful thing about Miami is our climate, which kind of explains why I'm rather bullish, I guess, on what the future of Miami looks like post-corona. Let me explain why. I've been in Miami now for 30 years. I've owned ISG for 27 years, a real estate sales company hired by the biggest developers in Miami. And let me give you some perspective by giving you some context. I remember on September 11th, everybody thought the world was coming to an end for understandable reasons. And the United States federal government was very concerned about all businesses perhaps collapsing into a bit of a recession. Their reaction to that was to lower interest rates and to provide tremendous liquidity to all banks. Now, September 11th happened in September. So obviously things were very slow for 60 days at least after September 11th. And then you moved into the Christmas holidays of that year when things slowed down for real estate naturally anyway. But in January of 2002, wow, the real estate market in Miami, and for that matter, all over the United States, caught fire. And it stayed like that right up until 2008. And I remember sitting back then in my office and talking to my colleagues then and realizing that the combination of low interest rates and lots of liquidity with banks is a great prescription for real estate. Real estate responds to that big time.
Okay.
But that was, I figured, a once-in-a-lifetime moment until 2008 showed up. 2008 was a total banking crisis that affected every business around the United States, if not the entire world. Well, the United States enacted a law called the TARP Act, T-A-R-P, which stood for, what it meant was Toxic Asset Relief Program. It was an acronym for that.
Okay.
And basically what it meant was this. The United States Treasury provided liquidity to bail out major companies and banks like Goldman Sachs, like Bank of America, insurance companies like AIG, automobile companies like Ford and General Motors. They also bailed out Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and as you probably know, Pepe, those are the wholesaling companies that purchase all mortgages in the United States, and then they sell them on the secondary market. Well, those companies were, Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae were insolvent as a result of 2008. So the TARP Act bailed those companies out as well.
Yeah.
In addition to which, the Treasury lowered interest rates, just like they did after September 11th. So once again, you have a real estate economy that is suffering and a lot of uncertainty in the world. And the U.S. government steps up and provides liquidity and lowers interest rates. And that created a real estate boom that really started in the middle of 2009 and lasted straight through 2016, almost 7 years. So once again, we're sitting back in ISG, my company, here in Miami, and we're noticing that the combination, excuse me, of lots of liquidity and low interest rates is very attractive to real estate. Real estate responds. So now let's fast forward. Now what happened in 2017, 18, and 19? Pepe, you know, the U.S. dollar went up around the world, making real estate in Miami for people living outside of the United States, international buyers, very expensive. It's not because Mexicans don't like Miami. I know. I live in a condominium in Sunny Isles Beach. Many of my neighbors are Mexican families. They love Miami. Love Miami. Yes. But when the dollar gets high, it gets too expensive. So now, COVID-19 shows up. Now let's look at what the U.S. government is doing again. They're providing the banks with incredible liquidity. I mean, we're talking about 3 weeks ago, it was $2 to $3 trillion worth of liquidity. Pepe, multiply that times 3. There's nearly $10 trillion now that the U.S. government is infusing into the United States economy. Banks, businesses, individuals, like something we've never seen before. So liquidity, big time. Including, by the way, this thing called the CARE Act, which I'm sure you've heard about. And the CARE Act is brand new, and it provides loans and grants, money, to lots of small companies, including mine, like ISG. I've been approved. ISG was approved for money.
Yeah.
Why? Because they don't want Craig firing employees because of this pandemic. They would rather me keep these people on my payroll and not have them go on unemployment. And quite honestly, it's a short-term problem anyway. Eventually, we all believe Corona-19 will go away, and then we've got to get our employees back working again. So we have a CARE Act now. It's not just provide the banks with money like we did in 2008 and like we did in 2001. It's not just lower interest rates like we did in 2008 and like we did in 2001. Now it's provide liquidity, lower interest rates, and provide additional money to small businesses excuse me, and individuals. While at the same time, they're bailing out companies like Boeing, the entire airline industry, because if they don't bail out the airline industry, airlines are going to go out of business, and that's really going to stop business from moving inside the United States. The United States government is throwing everything at this. Everything. More so than we've ever seen before. So, here's what it means to real estate is, I have seen this now, this is my third time, where I see lots of liquidity and low interest rates, nearly at 0%. Real estate's going to respond, Pepe, like it did before. Real estate is attracted to that. In addition to which, because the U.S. is providing so much liquidity through an economic principle called quantitative easing. And all that means is that the United States government is literally printing money. That's how we provide trillions and trillions of dollars. We're printing money. And by doing that, you're lowering the value of the dollar. The dollar today is not worth what the dollar was a month ago, pre-COVID-19. And we are already seeing evidence of this because the Mexican peso in the last 3 weeks is gaining strength against the US dollar. So is the Colombian peso. So is the euro. So is the Canadian dollar. You're getting the point. Currencies around the world are starting to gain strength against the US dollar because of all of this, because of quantitative easing. It's lowering the value, the strength of the US dollar. So I think post-COVID-19, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see interest rates so low that people are going to be looking to put money somewhere. Stock market is a place because there are some very undervalued stocks at the moment. But real estate always pops up as a very attractive investment when there's lots of liquidity and low interest rates. So I think that the future is very much going to resemble the past. And I think you're going to see more buyers from countries like Mexico, like Colombia, like Argentina, because the dollar is starting to weaken a little bit.
Okay.
So in post-Corona-19, I think the real magnet, the real attraction is going to be the low cost of money and all of this liquidity. Now, one last point. There was one huge difference between 2008 and 2020, and that's inventory. We have about 10% of the available inventory for sale today that we had in 2008 and 2009. I think you're going to see developers willing to discount more in the month of May, June, and July than they were in January, February, and March pre-Corona-19. But I don't think that the window that's going to open up to make good deals is going to stay open for more than 3 or 4 months, simply because we don't have the same amount of inventory that we had 10 years ago. So all of this to say, watch real estate respond to low interest rates and big liquidity. It does all the time. So I think in a post-COVID-19 world, once the world medical community makes us feel safe to go back out again, I think you're going to see real estate fly again.
Okay, thank you, Craig. So, and what about the prices? There's people with the expectation to decrease the prices, so they think that the developers or the secondary market will react for this COVID crisis. So it could be a thing that the prices can decrease. That you think that could happen or no?
Absolutely. I think it will happen starting now, today, April 20th, right through, I think, the end of July, maybe August, but not for long. I think any seller with standing inventory, they won't want to sell, and they've been virtually stopped in March and April. They really have. No matter what you hear, I promise you, residential sales in South Florida have been very slow during March and certainly during April. So it's causing sellers and or developers, owners of real estate, to be willing to discount a little bit more. And they will. But it's not going to be for long. For two reasons. Yeah, it's a short window. We don't have that much inventory. And I will tell you that people from the New York area are talking about Florida very much like Mexicans do. You know, Mexicans call Miami Plan B.
Yes.
And now New York is calling Miami, or actually the whole state of Florida, Plan B. They got to get out of there because, as you know, they got hit very hard from Corona-19 because it's just such a dense place. They were moving here anyway because we had this Tax Reform Act of 2017, which changed all the tax rules in the United States. Long story short, it's very expensive to live